Hello, Miami. You're watching 305 Sports Now, your home podcast and channel for all things Miami sports related. I am Will.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to 305 Live, right? I am your host, Will. And I am very, very happy to be on here live, man. And the reason why we're doing this live and I'm doing a few shows is because one of the biggest things that's going to be going on right now is this week is Canes Fest week. Yes, Canes Fest will be this Sunday. That is when you, as a Canes fan, if you're in the area, you could go meet the players and check out the facilities as well. Not the facilities, but go to the Hard Rock Stadium and check out things as well. But to bring on, this is one of my favorite guests that I've had on quite a few times on the show, and I was on his platform yesterday, the UHeard podcast with Joe, right? Poor Ben. All right, poor Ben had a big blackout, so it was me and Joe doing the spiel on Louisville. But the guy that we're going right now needs no introduction. He is part of the Avengers. If you watch Locked On Canes with Alex Dano, he is the man that I call the king of the watch-alongs because of all the watch-alongs he does with all the recruits that we're all trying to get. And of course, he is one of the major forces behind the UHeard podcast. That means, ladies and gentlemen, this man needs no introduction other than Corey Carmona, but you guys know him as CB or Chalupa Batman.
Hey,
dude, what's up, man? It's been a while. How you doing, brother?
I'm not doing as good as that intro. God damn!
I told you, man. I told you. I had a big one for you.
I was like, man, I should have came with a guest or something.
You're good, man. You're good.
There's no way that was for me. No, I'm doing.
Yeah,
I'm doing
that's
good.
you, brother. That's you, bro. That's you, bro. Salo Kane, you're funny, dude. All right, that's awesome, man. All love, man. All love. Right, Yella. It's all about the you. Damn right it is. And of course, I have to include you that one with yo. What's up, Chalupa?
I'm always in the chat.
Yeah, man. So what's up, man? How's everything going, man? I know you had some stuff you need to work out and so on in terms of a movie and so on. So what's up? So talk to us. What's been going on with you?
It's been a journey. So we moved to a new place. Got a nice new whole room just for all my streaming and collection and all that. It was a hectic few months. We wanted to get out of our apartment and get a home. So it was very stressful. The worst part is putting everything else on hold, putting the YouTube on hold, not doing interviews, us landing commits and me not able to go live, which is brutal. Because we got during that time period, I think we flipped Justin Scott during that, if I'm not mistaken. That was like when I first took everything down. I could be wrong about that, but yeah, it sucked. But we're back, and like I said, now I have a whole room for my collection and my stream, and there's like a couch over there that you can't see, but there's a couch right there, and so everything's going great, And recruiting season is through the roof. We just had our cookout, which is I'm calling that Miami's annual recruiting red carpet because it is the who's who when it comes to the 25, 26, and even some 27s. So it's always a big deal to have that. It's like the guest list for the red carpet, right? We all want to see like who's Mario, who's the sneak recruit, because every year there's one or two sneak guys. So it's like who's the sneak guy. Who's coming that's already committed elsewhere, gives you an idea on who the staff like really is into and wants to see in person, and who's a priority and who's not. You hear, oh, so-and-so's not a take or so-and-so's a take. That cookout lets you know who Mario finds important. So it's always cool when we have that roll around. It makes recruiting make a little bit of sense to all of us that are trying to make sense of all the craziness.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cookout was a great success. It was a lot of the committed guys that came over this weekend. as well. There's a couple guys that kind of surprised me that went, and that was Myron Charles. Okay, Myron Charles, who is an FSU commit, 4-star defensive tackle. We all know Miami needs a DT in this recruiting cycle. I'm fine. I do think it'll be like last year where everybody just came in, in one big bunch. But what were your thoughts when you heard about that name in particular being, at the cookout with all that green and orange and all those commits that could kind of get in his ear and so on?
Well, I'm a Myron Charles fan, so I was excited. He was one that when he committed to Florida State, I was a little miffed. I was like, damn, I like him because he reminds me a lot of Dalen Russell, where he's a defensive tackle, but he's also a DN. He's kind of like a 3-4 edge, kind of, or like a 3-4 DN, kind of, if that makes sense. Or people remember like Stephon Tuitt from like the Notre Dame days. He gives me like Stephon Tuitt vibes, where he's almost built like a DN, long arms. He's not a 350-pound defensive tackle, but a beast in the trenches, and has the quickness to be a guy that can come off the edge if you need him to. Just a fantastic interior pass rusher. So it was a little disheartening when he committed to FSU. You never want to lose recruits, but losing them to rivals sucks. No matter how much people on the timeline try to make it seem like it doesn't, it sucks every time. So seeing that they're still on the phone with him, and he's still clearly interested because he came through, and it obviously doesn't mean he's flipping or anything like that, but it's a good sign, right? To see that he's there. And then they extended an offer to one of the defensive tackles that personally is just like close to my heart, Dante Simpson, from Chaminade. And I've never had him on the show, so he's not my buddy or anything. I just like the young man. I just think he's a really good defensive tackle, and I thought he was criminally underrated for a while. I think when I had Kelly, when we were talking, I was talking to Kelly Sajor about him last year. Bro, why is Dante just, because at the time he wasn't even ranked. And I was just thinking, a lot of those Chaminade guys, and it happens not just at Chaminade, it happens at all the big programs, where some guys go under the radar because evaluators assume, okay, all of y'all can't be this good. Somebody is just benefiting from being on this team. So sometimes a lot of people go under the radar. People ask, how come Ryan Mack was so under the radar? Well, eventually somebody goes, is he good or is STA good? And unfortunately, guys like Ryan Mack, OJ Frederick, Dalen Russell, who was on that Columbus team, who couldn't get a 4-star, but was what was he? Broward, defensive player of the year, his junior year or something like that. Couldn't get a 4-star. And I think a lot of times they get hurt from being on these elite teams. Dante Simpson's another guy like that, tall, lanky, quick, one of those get in the gap, get upfield defensive tackles that can pressure the pocket from the interior. So they're doing some cool things at defensive tackle. Then obviously Elijah Griffin, the #1 defensive tackle in the class, just released his top 3, and we are in it. So we're doing good things at defensive tackle. I think this entire class has just been fantastic so far. I'm going to be honest with you. I think they've done a fantastic job.
Yeah, Dante Smith is on flip watch because I know he's committed to Maryland, but it's apparent that he really wants to go to Miami, or at least that's what's being said. That he grew up a Canes fan. That's what he said. Okay, perfect. Oh, he did say that because I heard that today on Locked On Canes. So I mean, that's something that I think is gonna happen. I think he's literally on flip watch. So the moment he got that offer, I see him decommitting it and committing to Miami. So it's a good get. You want these kind of kids that buy into your program, that want to be a part of your program, because they'll give you 100%. All the time. Duke Johnson's a good example of that. No matter what, Duke Johnson was going to be a Cane. Yeah, he grew up a Miami Hurricanes fan, and he couldn't wait to commit to the U. And he gave us some really good seasons over here at the University of Miami. So I think Dante will be the same kind of caliber young man, especially with the coaching that we have at the defensive line. I mean, with Big Joe and JT, he's only going to get better. He's only going to get better. So I'm really excited to hear of his flip, because I think he will flip and when he commits, and he's a solid guy. So I think that's good. And you get your D tackle, at least one solid D tackle for this defensive class, which a lot of the fan base out there has been complaining we haven't really gotten. I say stay patient. Last year, we heard the same things. People even thought about whether we should move Coach Salavea somewhere else to another position because he wasn't bringing him in. I didn't say that. That's what you were hearing in the chats and so on. But bottom line is, though, we racked them in. And I think you're going to see the same, with the same thing with defensive tackles this season as well. Another guy that kind of surprised me, because I heard Miami was losing ground on him that he was here, was Byron Lewis from American Heritage. From what you've heard, have the Canes made any more ground like they had previously, or is he still a Florida State lean?
Okay, so I haven't talked to him after the cookout, and I was actually going to reach out to him and ask him. He's one of my favorite human beings. Like, Byron's not just like my favorite running back in the class. He legit is one of my favorite human beings. He's just a really good kid, and who loves the game. Like, quick story. I have been bothering Byron to do the show for maybe a year, even before I had Dia on, like way before that. But Byron didn't have a huddle. He didn't have a highlight package for his junior year. Not a midway, not a nothing. So at one point, we agreed to do the show, and then midway through the season, I was like, "All right, like, are you gonna get your mid season highlights?" And he's like, "No, I don't think so." So we're like, "Okay, let's do it at the end of the year." So we're in constant communication, and Byron's whole thing is he didn't want a highlight package for this year.
Okay.
So I had to literally one day, I was like, "Hey, which coach do I have to message, Byron, to get you a huddle?" So everyone that's happy that Byron has a huddle or that little package of all of his runs, you're welcome. I didn't have to hit up any coach. I just bothered him about it constantly, and that's little bro. So I'm pretty sure he was just like, "Okay, I'm gonna make." So what he did was he put together his favorite runs from his junior year. So when I asked him, I was like, why'd you make me do all this to get a highlight package out of you? And he said, because highlights are for people on Twitter. Coaches don't watch highlights. They watch film. They want to see how I pass block. They want to see how I do the first time I get a negative 2-yard run. They want to see what I do when I miss a block. They want to see what happens when I get a 60-yard run. They take me out and put Chance in, and Chance gets a touchdown. They want to see my body language. They don't want to watch my highlights. He said highlights are for likes and clicks, and I don't play football for likes and clicks. And I was like, I already loved you. Like, I just that respect level for a young man that understands that football is not about, for him, it's not about a popularity contest. It's not about likes or retweets or who thinks he's cool or any of that. So he didn't care to put together a highlight package. If you wanted to know what Byron Luis is like, that's him. He's humble. He loves the game. He studies more of other running backs than he does himself. He likes to go to camps to watch other running backs. He'd be like, how are you able to do that? Like, not Barry Sanders, you. Like, how are you able to do it? Because I played that same defense, and I couldn't. The way he approaches the game, it's you can tell he'll make a great coach one day, because he approaches the game from a 30-foot view, not just him. Even in the interview, he starts talking about his teammates, and he's lighting up, talking about Chance and the other running. He's talking about other running backs that take carries from him, by the way. And he's lighting up with how excited he is for Chance and Desanor. And he is a locker room leader. He is the kind of guy you want in your locker room, 100% for sure. When I asked him, like, about his junior year and the great success he had, he literally said that he felt like a weight off his shoulders because he felt it was his responsibility to perform for his offensive line. So it wasn't like, oh, I had a great year, I can't wait for my offer. It was, thank God I had a good year, because those guys deserved me having a good year, because they worked hard. I had to reward them with a good year. Just the way he approaches the game, it's just so mature. But to answer your question, I honestly don't know, because one thing I don't do with any of them is ask them that kind of question. I try not to bother them about where you're going to commit or where you're going to go.
Well, I'm not. I mean, I'm not trying to pry from your end with them. I just wonder if you've heard, anything in terms of like, your contacts or anybody else, whether if he's a lean or not. So that's
yet. I know he loves, and we talked about it several times, not just on the interview. He loves FSU, but he also loves Mario. His relationship is very much like Mario centric. Like, Mario has been on him since he was like in the 6th grade. So like, he knows Mario like the back of his hand. Like, that's his boy. So I think that keeps us in it regardless. Byron's been throwing up the U since, like I said, he was like 6 years old.
Okay.
So I think Mario, because he made that connection with him and made that relationship with him so young, our hat will be on the table. You just have to ask yourself, the way the class is shaken out, we got a fantastic running back already with Gerard Pringle. So you have to ask yourself, how does that work? Colorado is also in the mix there. I would not rule out Colorado there at all when it comes to Byron. But when it comes down to it, I think it'll be us or FSU. And I mean, if I had my choice, he'd be committed already.
Okay.
But I do know it's hard. I mean, a couple of his teammates are already committed to FSU. Another one of my favorite players, Greg Zay Thomas, committed to FSU. But he does have Malachi Toney on the other side of the ball. He's a Miami commit, so that's good. Maybe Mally can help sway him. His quarterback's committed to Texas, so that's no good.
Yeah, I
But
know.
but I think we're in it come signing day because of that relationship, bro. Because Mario has been talking to him and his family since he was a child. And it's hard to overlook someone that was always at every game. Every time you scored a touchdown, you looked over and Mario's on the side. Like, it's hard to overlook that kind of dedication, that kind of relationship. It's to the point where he don't talk to Mario about football. They're just boys. They talk about life. So it's going to be hard to not give us that, all right, man, I got to at least think about Mario. So I think we'll be in the fight. It's just hard when it comes to, we're in a new day and age of recruiting, bro. Like, a lot of these guys don't want to sit. And I'm not saying he doesn't want to, but a lot of these guys don't want to sit. A lot of these guys are not being paid to sit. You know what I'm saying? So you got to think about that too. Like, when you land a quarterback, are you really going to land a second one, or one that you want to be the second one? Because is he really going to want to sit in the transfer portal era where he can probably go make some money somewhere else and play, or be next in line? So you got to think about that a lot of times when you're adding depth in recruiting. But they've done a thing with a 1-2 punch every year. We've seen they've been very consistent with a lightning and thunder approach to their running back room every year. And I just think for what we have with Gerard Pringle, Byron's the perfect thunder to that.
Yeah. Oh no, I totally agree. I think Byron will be a great fit, for what Mario wants to do, especially maybe having a thunder lightning type of deal and so on. But thank you for bringing that insight on Byron. I know him from a football perspective because I've watched the highlights that you helped create. Apparently, so
I just bugged him enough until he made somebody
yeah.
do it.
I mean, but thank you for the insight. Like I said, you are the king of the watch along, man. You know a little bit more about these recruits and so on than a lot of people do on a more personal level as well. So that's also like a very good thing. I wanted to talk to you before we go into Jaime Ffrench. Two guys that are really being mentioned are Ben Hanks Jr. and Bryce Fitzgerald. I think Bryce came into the fold a bit later on. Not that he wasn't being recruited by Miami, but we just weren't talking enough about Bryce because we're so focused on DJ Pickett. We're so focused on Ben Hanks, so focused on Ewald and Jabari Antoine. But Bryce is a solid kid coming out of Columbus High. You can't argue with 10 picks and two pick sixes and so on. I'm going to ask Dono about him on Wednesday when he comes on. What is your take on Bryce Fitzgerald, and what are the Canes getting? If he does commit to Miami? I believe his commitment date that he wants. I think it's August 17th or end of August. One of those two dates. So what kind of young man, what kind of player, what kind of athlete are the Canes getting with Bryce?
Let me tell you something about Bryce Fitzgerald. For those people that have not been talking about Bryce Fitzgerald, that is not I. I have been very consistent with this. I want Drake Stubbs and Bryce Fitzgerald as my safeties in this class. Bryce could be a 4-star receiver, full stop. If he wanted to never play defense again, he'd be a blue chip receiver. Legit. He's that good. Ball skills out the wazoo, insane range. And he's also a dynamic returner too when it comes to punt and kick returns. One of my favorite players in the class. Like, I've wanted Bryce since last year. He is absolutely fantastic. A elite player, literally, when I say all three phases, I mean in all three phases. As a matter of fact, there's a wicked highlight of him scoring a touchdown on Drake Stubbs in the state championship game last year as a receiver. He legit. Honestly, if Bryce decided to be a receiver, I would want him in this class. He's that good of a receiver. Really is. Just smooth, natural ball skills. But with the ball in his hand, he looks like he's moving effortlessly. Like, it doesn't look like, some guys when they're moving, it's like, oh, you can tell he's working hard. Bryce looks so smooth, and it's almost like, oh, they can definitely catch him, but they're not catching him. And it's almost like when he jukes, it feels like it's in slow motion, but it's just everything looks so effortless and smooth. I'm a big fan of him. And as a safety, look, man, you put him and Drake Stubbs back there, Amari Wallace in the slot, Ewald and Jabari, that's a hell of a secondary in the future. And I know it never works out to where it's always that perfect where the whole class starts together. But just look at that on paper. On paper, that's dynamic, man. When it comes to him and Stubbs, we're talking about 5-star talents. Now, whether 24/7 wants to give them their fifth, whatever. These are 5-star talents. These are elite football players on each phase of the game. When it comes to 7-on-7, they both absolutely dominate on both sides of the ball. Bryce is just as nasty at receiver in 7-on-7 as well. Both of them played for Raw, so they played with each other. So did Amari. So we're starting to see that Raw connection come through. I wish it came through on the receiver side, but that's a whole different topic for another day. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Bryce. Honestly, when it comes to the DBs that are left, he's at the top of my board for me. And under Stubbs, he was my number 2. Like, I really, really, really want Bryce. I just think when you have someone that's athletic like that in the secondary, he's just a playmaker. He's a football player. Just like Stubbs, he's a football player. Just put him out there, let him play football. And Hanks, shutdown. I mean, what else can you say about him? He literally is just a shutdown corner. I mean, Raw just continues to retool. If you think about it, last year they had what's the kid that went to Georgia, the number 1 corner in the Ellis Robinson.
Ellis Robinson. Mm-hmm.
Last year, 12. Ironically, it's 12. He leaves. Ben Hanks takes up the mantle. 12. Another shutdown corner. Great length, physical, can do it all. You know how these South Florida corners are. They're comfortable on an island. It's what they do. Him and Jabori in this class as corners together. I don't think you could do much better. I know everyone wants DJ, but DJ is a DB period. You just play him wherever. As at corner, I don't think you can argue if they do end up getting Hanks and Jabori. I mean, think about last year, how much we were trying to flip everybody's corners as much as we could. We were trying, who's got a 4-star corner that's not happy? We were begging somebody to drop the ball so we could flip them. Imagine going into the season knowing that you already have Jabori and Ben Hanks in the class. I think that would just be massive.
Yeah, Benson is an interesting category because he's kind of interesting because from what I've heard or feel, he wants to come to Miami, but I think his family kind of wants him to go to Florida. So I feel like he's kind of torn between the two schools, and I really don't know how that's gonna turn out. But I've heard the same thing that you said, that he is a lockdown guy. So I would love to have him in his class as well, and Bryce as well. But what have you heard about the familial side? Go ahead.
It would be massive. Getting both of them would be absolutely massive. I mean, even getting one of them would be great for the class, but getting both of them would be massive. Yeah, I think it's one of those worst kept secrets that people think Hanks is a Florida lean at the moment. But every time he takes a visit, he speaks so positive about Mario, so positive about the staff. And again, there's that Raw connection, right? His safety's here, his other corners here, his other corners here. There is that Raw connection. So fingers crossed, hopefully. And it's Mario, dude. Mario will close.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And one guy that we do want him to close, all right, is one of the top receivers in this recruiting class, and that is Jaime Ffrench. All right, Jaime Ffrench out of Mandarin High is an individual that everybody wants, but no one can kind of figure out. Okay, I'm gonna quote Brian Smith, who says, "1 week, one school's at the lead, another week, another school's at the lead." It seems to be at the moment. I thought it was Texas at one point, but it seems to be at the moment, from what I've heard, it's a Miami versus LSU battle for Jaime Ffrench. Where is Miami really with Jaime Ffrench at the moment? I heard really good things, that he loved his visit. He loves the staff. Of course, Coach Beard is a beast at recruiting and building relationships with these wide receivers. The Mario factor as well. The way recruits are treated when they visit the university. But I've heard that Ffrench is big time, liking Miami, liking the vibes of Miami, and so on. Where do you think he's at? Because he's set to commit at the end of August, but some people may think this may drag into signing day as well. Where do you think he's at as far as with Miami goes? Is Miami definitely in the lead? Is Texas still there, and we're just not talking about Texas? What's going on?
Texas is never out of any recruit they want. Let's start there, because of oil money. I mean, they're just not. Look at Diabell. We were all thinking Miami, Penn State. Love Penn State. Maybe it's going to be Penn State, and it's UT. I wouldn't rule them out because what they've been doing the past couple of years with their recruiting class, with their quarterback class as well, they're building something special up there, or well, up there for me because I live south of Austin. So they're building something special up there. So I understand the Texas thing. You can never rule out LSU because it's LSU, which is interesting because he reminds me a lot of Justin Jefferson. So that one there is, they're probably showing him JJ film constantly. Like, hey, he also wore 2. This could be you. I don't think anyone knows besides Jaime Ffrench. I think Jaime Ffrench and Jaime Ffrench's inner circle are the only people that actually know. I think a lot of them like to mislead. So I think that's why you will see whoever they get crystal ball to becomes the least one that gets the attention. I think that's for a reason. I think that's to continue to throw people off, probably because he doesn't know yet. He probably doesn't know, or he does know and he doesn't want anyone to know. That's not a player I've ever spoken to, so I can't give any insight there. But I can say, though, Hilton Drake Stubbs is his teammate. So we've got an in. Derek Plaz played with him last year on the offensive line. So we've got an in there. All I can hope is between Stubbs, Plaz, and Kevin Beard that we've got a shot there. I don't know if I was a betting man, if I'd put money on it, if I'm going to be honest with you. But man, you can't rule out KB, right? You just can't. No. You cannot rule out Kevin Beard. And there's a couple receivers that are already off the board. Obviously, Vernell Brown III, which to me, if Jaime Ffrench is 1, he was 1B. As my personal opinion, he was 1B. So he's off the board now, and that one stings because wanted that one bad. So the priority does shift, and it becomes, Jaime is. I don't think you can dispute this, that he's the highest priority receiver on the board for us right now. There's some other receivers I like a lot and would really like them to spend the block on, but again, different show. It all seemed very positive coming out of the cookout, but that's what Miami does, right? They're known for making these players feel at home, making them feel comfortable, making them feel special. So many of them said they felt like it was like a MVP experience, their OVs last year. The way they were talking about their officials was like, I mean, I think Marshallin said like he felt like he was like a Hollywood superstar, like on his OV. And Fitzgerald was quoted as saying nobody does their visits like Miami. They're very good at making you feel like home, and it's not just the pitchers, it's not just Mario, it's the staff that doesn't forget your name. It's everyone on the recruiting staff that remembered that you like pickled Lay's chips and make sure that they're on the bed for you. Like, it's the little things they do. Like, when you talk to the players and you ask why they committed, they start talking about the coaches, and then they start naming people that none of us have any idea who they are or what they do. But it's from top to bottom, making these young men feel like they're a priority. So you get those quotes from Jaime when he's done with the interview, when he's done with the OV, like, or with the cookout, like, this was fantastic. Like, he felt at home. He loves Kevin Beard. I think as long as KB's on the staff, we're in it for every receiver. Even Vernell Brown, we were on the table.
Yeah, we were.
And he's a Florida legacy. You know what I mean? We had no business on that table. None. But we're on the table because of Kevin Beard. So I think we'll be on the table when it comes to Jaime Ffrench. It's going to be hard to beat out teams that are willing to back up a Brinks truck. It's just hard. Texas is willing to back up a Brinks truck. And I don't know what the scholarship limit is for them, because it seems like they have way too many kids on scholarship. It seems like every day they get a new commit. I'm just like, what is going on up there? So they're going to be a challenge. LSU is an interesting one because I think we all forecast they're not going to have a good year. So I kind of feel like any recruits they take from us, they may be easier to flip. Even like with DJ Pickett, I felt like if he went to Oregon, that was going to be harder for us to flip than LSU, because a lot of us forecast LSU may struggle a bit this year. So we'll see what that looks like if they do struggle. If I'm not mistaken, the thing that's going to hurt us the most about LSU is Bryce Underwood. If I'm not mistaken, yeah. Okay, so this is going to be a bit of an issue here. They got the number 1 quarterback in our class.
Yeah.
His name is Bryce Underwood. He is that. He's everything a number one quarterback in the class should be and more. He's absolutely fantastic. It's got to be hard to recruit against this is your quarterback when you come here. But our quarterback went to work this weekend. I know you saw the photos. We've got one ourselves, 2-time state champion winner, twice as a starter, actually. Luke Nickel went to work this weekend. And when I say Luke has won everything he's touched this year, every 7-on-7 tournament they go to, he just blows it out the water. He has just continued to elevate his game. I think that helps us too. At some point, it's a battle of what quarterback am I playing with?
Yeah.
So I think we got a bit of a leg up where our quarterback, was committed a bit earlier and has probably been recruiting Jaime earlier.
Yes,
than Bryce was. But it's also hard to compete against, these kids. They love the SEC, and he's going to have a blue chip quarterback to play with as well. So it's going to be rough. We're showing Andre Johnson film. They're showing JJ, and I think we'll be on the table. I just don't know if I could put money on it today. I would probably put money on no, but I wouldn't put all my money on it. I would keep some money in my pocket because with KB, you just never know, right? He pulled Nykar out of nowhere last year. Nykar was committed to Georgia for a long time. He wasn't a recent Georgia commit. Nykar had been committed to Georgia forever. He pulled that out of his back pocket when none of us saw that coming before the rumors. Obviously, about a week before we started hearing the rumors on social media that, hey, Nykar he may flip, he may decommit. But before that, we didn't see that coming. So I can't rule us out with any receivers because of Kevin Beard. They all say the same thing. Like, they love him to death. So I think much like Byron, with Mario is going to get us on that table. Kevin Beard gets us on that table.
Yeah. You made a good point about Luke Nickel. Luke Nickel seems to have a good relationship with Luke. Luke and Jaime Ffrench have a great relationship. They talk. They do the Twitter thing together and so on, or the X thing together. So I do think that although Bryce might be the stud quarterback and so on, Luke Nickel is no slouch. I always felt that Luke was underrated by 247 and Rivals and so on and on 3. When I looked at his highlights, his huddle, I mean, some of the throws that young man made, for his team I think as a sophomore were just sick, and they were Power 5 at the time type of throws. They were just excellent. My favorite one, I'll never forget, being chased down by the defensive end. He throws a beautiful pass on a post pattern on a dime that the wide receiver ends up scoring a touchdown. That is something that you just don't teach. That is good football instincts, and also the quarterback's athleticism and ability to connect with his receiver plays a key role. So I do think that Luke is a wild card here. And Mario said it best. I mean, yeah, we could recruit, but the best recruiters are the players themselves. They're the ones that bring in the talent. So I do think that Luke has a relationship right now with Jaime Ffrench that Bryce Underwood just doesn't have at the moment. So that's where I'm at. I've heard good things. I heard good things about, like I said, his visit. He liked it here. So we'll see what happens with Jaime Ffrench. But man, you just aged me a little bit. You say Justin Jefferson. I've been comparing him to Andre Johnson when he was at Miami High. Just the physical frame, the body type, and so on.
Yeah,
it reminded me of Andre. When I was in high school, at the time Andre was in high school, because we were at high school at the same time.
That's why I said for us, we're probably showing him Dre tape because of that body style. Actually, what's hilarious is, I mean, KB was a little bit linkier than him because KB's all arms and legs. That man has no torso. He's just all arms and legs. But another similar to Jaime. Jamie's got ridiculously long arms. And he's just a complete receiver, man. He does it all. The stuff underneath, in between the hashes, dynamite after the catch, can go over the top of any defense. Ball skills insane. High points to football. Contested catches, DB never wins those. He is a complete receiver. There is nothing that young man can't do. You're looking at, for those of y'all that are asking, like, how does he compare to last year's class? He's every bit of JoJo. He's every bit of Chance. He's every bit of JJ. He's that type of, you could build your offense around a receiver like that. He's that kind of receiver. He is a matchup nightmare. because you can put a big corner on him and think, oh, I want to press him, and he's no slouch going off the line. He's a physical guy too. He's not a $134. You know what I mean? He's just that kind of, when we talk about a number one, typically you talk about a body style and a skill set, right? Because when you see a number one and it's a guy that's 5'11", no disrespect to the guys that are 5'11", they still say, oh, well, he's not a true one. Jaime Ffrench is a true one. When you're going to create a player on Madden to create a receiver, you're essentially creating him.
That's unbelievable. And yeah, I love Jaime, man. It did sting though we lost for Noah Brown. That was my favorite receiver in the receiver class. But again, I do like,
man.
Yeah, man. I mean, he's just a beast. His highlights and his ability to escape, tackles and so on. But Jamie's also a magnificent get as well. You can't argue with almost 1,300 yards receiving and 14 touchdowns. I mean, the kid's a beast. He's just a flat out baller.
I want to say Mandarin had close to a 2,000-yard rusher too. So that tells you, like, it's not an offense that only airs it out. Yeah. Like, obviously, Tramel Jones, you got a fantastic quarterback committed to FSU. Great quarterback. But they run the mess out of the football there too. So it's not like it's just bombs away to Jaime Ffrench. They got another 26 receiver, Red Sherman, a young slot kid, dynamite out the slot. So it's not like he's getting 30 balls a game. Mm-hmm. Like, for people that are like, yeah, but it's Jaime Ffrench. He's in an offense that spreads it around. That tells you how dominant he is.
One thing I really admire and like about you is your dedication to recruiting and student athletes, especially in football. So one of the things I also want to ask you about, it wasn't just a class of 2025 that were at the Cookout. Class of 2026 and 2027 was also there as well. For somebody that follows recruiting such as yourself, is there anybody that you want to talk about, maybe one or two guys that you want to talk about that we should be looking into for the following recruiting cycle for next season after 2025 is over, that appeared at the Cookout this past weekend?
Okay, so he was not at the Cookout, but I'm naming him anyway. My number one player in the 2026 class is Aaron Gregory. He's a 5-star athlete out of what is the name of the school? Too many kids. And I know this too because I just made him a graphic the other day. Out of Douglas County. Monster. Absolute monster. He is the best player in the 26 class. Don't at me. Watch his film. He's that good. Just as good as DB as he is a receiver. And he's good at DB just because he's an athlete. He doesn't even practice at it as much. But he's a monster at receiver. A 5-star talent, ranked as a 5-star. Loves KB, loves Miami. Has been down there for a few visits. He was down there for Junior Day, I want to say last year. He was there again this year, right before you couldn't take pictures anymore. So he was there like just in time. But another elite young man too. Elite work ethic. Another young man that plays on the Raw 7-on-7 team. Just an absolute beast. Like, if you have not seen Aaron Gregory's tape and you're in the comments, please go watch Aaron Gregory in the 26 class. He's my favorite. But there's a lot of other guys in that 26 class. Actually, there's a receiver, Larry Miles. He goes to school with Vernell Brown at Jones. Blowing up. This young man is fantastic at receiver. Great as a returner, but just a burner at receiver. He's one that I would really, really like to have in the 26 class. I'll give one more, because if not, then I'll just keep talking forever. Let's see, who else? There's a couple Heritage kids. There's a really fast Heritage receiver that I like, and some of the 26 kids they're out of state with a lot of 26 kids that probably were not allowed to, weren't not allowed, could not make the Cookout. Because I know of a big time 26 running back that wasn't at the Cookout, and I know KJ is a priority for them, but he wasn't at the Cookout. There's another quarterback that I know is a priority. He wasn't at the Cookout. A couple receivers that weren't at the Cookout as well. There's a cornerback, Javari Flowers. He goes to Miami Central. Way too under the radar. Another Raw guy. I'm trying to think of who else. my brain is turning into mush because there's too many of them right now. And what's funny is tonight, actually, I recorded with Jaden Wilkerson earlier, the offensive tackle, the 25 commit.
Mm-hmm.
He said they went to that cookout on a mission. he said they were cornering players. They were not messing around. Like, it's a different task for the ones that are committed already. They're not going to eat barbecue. They're going to bolster up the class. Like, they're like he said, they knew, like they had a strategy. Like, they knew, okay, that's Jay. Like, y'all two go to Jaime. Like, that's one thing I love about these commits, man. For some reason, they commit and they buy into Mario's like philosophy instantly. So we're in good hands. Like Mario said, the players will recruit harder than the staff will, and they can recruit harder than the staff will. And you trust your peers, right? You trust when your boy tells you no, like you need to really pay attention to your next visit. Like, trust me, they're doing something cool there. You're gonna listen. Like, if a commercial comes on and tells you to buy something to eat, you're gonna go, I kind of like that. If your best friend goes, you would love that, you're trying it.
Yeah, I know, you're right.
So, and that's why I say with guys like Stubbs, guys like Plaz, I think we're at least in a good position with Jaime Ffrench. Plaz is there. He went through a spring already. He's about to go through fall. He can literally tell him, no, bro, they're not lying to you about nothing. Everything they're telling you is how it is. There's no, we have someone on the inside that can tell Jaime, like, look, I don't know what Texas is telling you, but I know when Miami tells you X, Y, and Z, you really get X, Y, and Z, because I've been here already and I've got X, Y, and Z. That's what they told me. So I think that helps when it comes to recruits. So I've got my super fingers crossed because I feel like receiver hasn't kicked off for us yet the way we wanted to. Got Dylan Upshaw, which another burner, reminds me of Nikar. But I think, and I don't think I'm alone here, we're starting to get a little restless when it comes to receiver because of how stacked the board was. And it was like, okay, there's like 7 of these dudes. If we can just get 3, we'd be happy. And they're starting to kind of fall off the board a little too fast for my liking. So, but all that goes to the wayside when you land Jaime Ffrench, right? You're like, okay, whatever. It's like when we landed JoJo last year, right? It's like, oh, we got JoJo and Chance. Whatever else happens. But we got JoJo and Chance. So I think Jamie's that for us. For anyone in the comments that are like, yeah, but it's only one receiver so far. Yeah, but Jaime Ffrench is the kind of receiver where you go, if that's all we got at receiver, okay. Like, all right. I think we did okay if that's all we get at receiver. And we've already got Upshaw. So he turns the class. It's not like when you get Jaime Ffrench, you go, yeah, but we still need other receivers. It's like whoever else comes, cool. But you land Jaime Ffrench, Vernell Brown's that kind of player. You land a guy like that, that's the anchor to the receiver room for that class. And whatever else comes, it's your uncles buying you Christmas presents. It's just extra gifts at this point.
Yeah, man. So I mean, no, I totally agree with you, and I think with 2 we're good. I mean, we had a large class last year.
Yeah,
with Nikar and Chance Robinson. I think we had 4. Yeah, we had 4. Almost 5.
I wanted 4.
You wanted 4
receivers in the class.
Yeah. Oh, for last year, for this year too.
Last year I wanted 4. We got 3. I'm still upset we didn't circle back on the 4th I wanted.
Okay.
This year I wanted 4. I came into recruiting wanting I came into recruiting wanting Nashawn Montgomery, Kobe Howard, Vernell Brown, and Tyler Williams as my 4 receivers. Tyler Williams is now committed to Georgia. Shout out to the homie. Kobe Howard we're not making that table. That's not happening. I don't think we're making the table for Nashawn either. That one upsets me quite a bit.
Yeah, you're not the only one. You're not the only one.
I will die on that hill. Cortez Mills should be a Cane. He's committed to OU. I'm gonna die on that hill too. Nay and Cortez Mills upset me the most. I feel like they should be Canes. Kobe, I also really wanted Kobe. That one's gonna upset me too, just because he almost seemed like he should have been a lock. And he's going to Chaminade now. So there's just a couple receivers that upset me that we didn't get. And not because I want everybody. I don't want everybody. There's a misconception that I want everybody. I don't want everybody. I want the motherfuckers we should get. It's not, you know what I mean? Like they're raw kids. They're right down the street. So it's a little upsetting that we didn't get some of those receivers that I really wanted. But at the end of the day, recruiting is a 30-foot view. So Mario's not just looking at this year. He's looking at this class. How do they integrate with last year's class and what's still on the roster? How does that integrate with what we want in 2026 as well? So sometimes we don't land our favorite players, and it's not because they didn't want them. Maybe it's because the role they had for that player doesn't really want because of how the rest of the class stacks out. So, but again, you land Jaime Ffrench, and all this is out the window. Like,
no, absolutely. Especially since he is one of the top 3 studs of this recruiting cycle for wide receivers. For me, again, but I'm not surprised because it's a legacy. It's a legacy thing. Was Vernell Brown? That's one guy that I wish would have gotten. I know the coaching staff really pushed for that one. Tyler Williams is the guy I wanted, but I get the lure of Georgia. But I really like Tyler Williams. I thought he was an underrated 3-star. I thought she'd been at least a 4-star as well.
Still calling.
Yeah, and I think Cortez Mills was a shocker that Miami just kind of like fell back on that recruitment as well. So, but again, we had a good.
I'm not really allowed to talk about Cortez Mills and Nashawn Montgomery. Ben knows why. I go on tirades about it because it's really upsetting. It's just upsetting. And I love my staff, so don't ever take any of this as me coming down on the staff. I love Kevin Beard. I love the staff. They know way more football than I do, so I trust their decision. Yeah. I'm a fan though, and I'm allowed to have an opinion. And
of course, of course. Like I said, Cortez was good. Cortez was good. That one stung. Tyler, I get it. Georgia, as well. So that's one of the things that I understand.
Tyler, I understand. Tyler didn't choose us. That wasn't us doing. That was But also, if you look at it from his perspective, I mean, when we offered him, I think at the time his biggest offer was UCF. We're talking about a young man that never thought he would get a Georgia offer. I'm so proud of that kid for even getting a Georgia offer, being a 3-star receiver at a small school that didn't even have football 3-4 years ago. Like, it's crazy when you think about that. So that one, I'm not upset as a Miami fan about. I'm upset as CB because I wanted my homeboy to play for Miami. But Mills and Nay upset me. But also, I don't know the full plan. If they really think they're getting Jaime Ffrench, maybe that's why. You know what I mean? Like, there could be there is method to Mario's madness always. Mm-hmm. I will never doubt that. As much as we may get upset, like, man, why didn't we get that running back? And then you see, because we got him. So it balances itself out. It's just sometimes when you're looking at it in real time, it's like they're all coming off the board, and they're not coming here. So it's a little upsetting. But it's a marathon, not a sprint. So no matter where they commit, we all know Mario's not giving up. So
it's like our buddy Joe says, wake me up in December. It's pretty much what it is.
My only thing about that is we can't flip everybody.
Yeah.
You can't flip everybody. You probably get maybe 3 in a class. So I know the fans, every time someone commits somewhere, are like, oh, we'll flip. Well, I mean, how many did we flip last year? 1?
Well, okay, there was Justin Scott flipped. Armando Blunt flipped and reflipped, so that's 2.
Yes, 2.
And let's see who else. Nikar, so that's 3.
Nikar decommitted.
Oh, decommitted. Oh, he did. Okay, he did decommit. Okay, call it a flip, man.
No.
All right, fine. So he decommitted.
I actually think, and I think he would have flipped, but I think that was more of like a mature
way of handling it. Okay,
right thing to do, kind of, not just have them find out on Twitter. I think that's just a young man being like, let me not burn no bridges and do the right thing and decommit. And because it is a little bit embarrassing when somebody flips, because usually the staff that he flipped from finds out when we do. So I think that was more so like it's a flip, but it was more so where I think he did the right thing by the people who were recruiting him for so long.
The reason why I say that is because he decommitted from Georgia, and I think like the day after he became a Cane. So it's kind of like a 1 day after, no more than 48 hours, he was already a Miami Hurricane. That's why I call it like a flip. But I see what you mean.
It seemed like it was he did it. He did it because, well, you got to think about it. He was committed to Georgia for so long. He probably didn't want to like kind of step on the coaches that had been, building that relationship with him for so long. Because people forget, like, he'd been talking to those coaches for years, you know. So
Mhm.
you probably just didn't want to step on anyone's toes. But realistically, you get 2 to 3 flips a year, so you got to be careful with the whole. Oh, we're not that worried because we can flip them, because you're not gonna flip 10 kids in a class.
No,
So I
that's
have to
true.
try to explain that to FSU fans. That's like, we don't care, we'll flip them. I'm like, at this point, you're flipping a class. You're not gonna flip a whole class. It's not gonna happen. Like, but I do think we get a couple, hopefully. But they've done a great job in this class, though. I mean, from top to bottom, quarterback to linebacker to offensive line, they've done a really good job. I don't really have that many complaints. I could nitpick, and it's receiver that I nitpick at. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, we got JoJo Chance and Nye Carr from last year. So, like, what
Yeah.
did we really expect from the following class, if you think about it, right? Eventually, we're going to have a weak receiver class, because people ain't just going to sign up to sit behind, Chance and all these guys for too long. So, eventually, we're going to take a step back in a receiver. But other than that, I don't think any of us can be upset. This time last year, this class was not this good.
Yeah.
Period. It
Uh,
just wasn't.
no, I totally agree. Yeah, no, definitely. Last year, Mario picked it up, more during the season, than during the summer. So we did okay during the summer. We started to see a jump in the summertime, but yeah, Mario definitely picked it up during the season. That's where we did get the Night Cars and the Justin Scotts and so on as well. Corey, I want to take your mind a little bit off, the
Mhm.
receivers, and a little bit off of football, and I want you to focus on your collectibles that you have back there, because you are like me. We're both comic book guys. So we're about to geek out right now. It was revealed this weekend that the Russo brothers threw everybody a curveball, and Iron Man, known as Robert Downey Jr., is now going to play Victor Von Doom in Avengers Doomsday. Okay, so what is that about? Okay, is it a multiverse thing? Is it what were your thoughts when you saw Robert Downey Jr. being Doctor Doom? Because to me, he's always been Tony Stark. It's like
Well,
it's like Michael Keaton coming back as Superman or something like that, or Lex Luthor. I mean, you tell me what you think about that.
so there's a few ways I feel about it. For one, he's going to be a great Doom. I mean, Victor Von Doom is king of the one-liners. Who better to one-line him than Robert Downey Jr.? He's going to be great as Doom. I have no doubt about that. There's a few issues I have with it. Not
Okay.
necessarily the variant thing, because I don't think we're getting true Victor Von Doom, where we're going to get the whole origin and we're going to find out about Mephisto making the deal with his mom. I think we're getting that post Secret Wars. I think this is Victor Von Doom the same way the Silver Surfer is Shalabal and not Norrin Rad. I think he probably comes from an alternate universe, probably the Fantastic Four's universe that they're in. Um, there's issues with having him be Doom for several reasons. For one, he's going to take his mask off because it's Robert Downey Jr., and they're not going to pay all that money to hide his face for all these movies. And Doom should not take his mask off, because Doom doesn't want to show you his face, because he has an imperfection on it and he believes that he should be perfect. He wears armor because he doesn't want to touch the world. He doesn't believe he should, or he's not allowed to. The dude literally has a ridiculous God complex. So casting Robert Downey Jr. is a little bit weird to me, because they're going to want to show his face. Also, you're going to want that moment where Spider-Man is having to fight him and realizes you look like Tony Stark. It's okay for a variant to look like somebody else. Think about this. In Secret Wars, we're going to see Michael B. Jordan, right? And you're going to assume he's Killmonger. He could be Human Torch. We know that there's a variant of Human Torch in the Marvel multiverse that looks exactly like Killmonger, because it is. It's Michael B. Jordan. We know that there is a Human Torch variant that looks exactly like Steve Rogers, because it is. It's the same here. It's just a variant of Doom that looks like Tony Stark. They announced him, when Variety released the article, they announced him as Victor Von Doom. I was really scared that he was just going to be a Tony Stark variant that became Doctor Doom. It looks like he is Victor Von Doom. So that's going to be cool. Doom fans are not happy, because this is the third time they're doing Doom and they're still not really doing it right. But I do think we're going to get it right post Secret Wars. There's also the idea that people think there's no way they're paying him all this money and he's not going to stay Doom after Secret Wars. I think that'd be a mistake. If you think about it, Robert Downey Jr. looks like he could have maybe went to school with Pedro Pascal in college. He's older, but you could theoretically say they went to school together. So I could see how he's the Doom in that universe, in the universe that the Fantastic Four comes from. I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be very interesting. I'm excited about it. I lost my mind when I saw it. I mean, my phone absolutely blew up. Just absolutely blew. And it was already blowing up because of some of the SDCC news anyway. When they announced the Russo brothers, everyone went crazy. But that's been a rumor for a while. But it was also a rumor that they were going to have the young man that does the Black Panther movies, Ryan,
Coogler?
forget his last name. Yeah, that Marvel wanted him to do Secret Wars. I don't know if he just didn't want to or not, but I know for a while there was a rumor that Marvel really liked the idea of him doing Secret Wars. I think the Russo brothers are good for it because they handled Infinity War and Endgame so well with that large of a cast and making sure there's no continuity errors and all that. And Battle World's going to have a massive cast. So I think the Russo brothers are cool for that. We know they understand the stakes of the MCU. We know they know how to produce a big budget closure of a saga for the MCU. So I'm not worried about the Russo brothers at all. A little excited because it's like, cool, okay. They get to do this one more time. So that's going to be pretty cool. We saw their vision with Infinity War and Endgame. So we're going to get to see it with Doomsday and Secret Wars. That's going to be cool. And it all leads to Secret Wars. So it all leads to Battle World. I just don't know how they're going to do it because if they're going to do it based on the 2015 run, I don't know if any of us will care if Dr. Doom is God King Doom because we haven't known him that long. In the comics, you cared because we've had Doom for so long. It meant something. I don't know if it'll mean something for them to follow that exact storyline, but we don't really know what storyline they're telling. They're already changing things with like anchor beings in every universe. So that's interesting because that is the Molecule Man, essentially. And the Molecule Man is a massive part of Secret Wars. So I don't know how they're going to do it. But it's poetic, right? To have the dude that birthed the MCU kill it. That's what Secret Wars is. For everyone it's going to be a reboot after Secret Wars. This universe, as we know it, will die. It will. And it is kind of fitting if the person that does it is the person that kind of gave birth to all of it, right? Like if Robert Downey Jr. is that person in Battle World sitting on the throne, like, well, I've destroyed this. It's poetic in a way for the MCU. Now, comic book fans are gonna hate it. I'm not that big of a fan of it, but I'm intrigued by it. Like I'm definitely intrigued by the story they're gonna tell. And I think until we know the story they're going to tell, it's hard to judge. Like, I don't know what they're going to do. They could say, maybe Tony's in that timeline, in that universe, Tony's parents died early. He was adopted by someone Romanian and lived in Latveria. Like, I don't know the story they're going to tell, but there's things with Doom that make Doom Doom. He grew up penniless. He literally had to make something of himself, came over here to go to university. His mother sold her soul to Mephisto. Like, so his whole life, he's trying to get his mother's soul back. Like, there's these things that make Doom Doom. So if he's not going to be all of that, it's hard to have him as the big bad. With saying that, I was reminded yesterday that 80% of people don't care about any of that. They're going to show up and love the movie because the MCU is not just made for us anymore. You know what I mean? It's made for everybody. So I don't think I don't think the general fan will care. I think the general fan is losing their minds right now because Robert Downey Jr. is Doom. I'm just curious as to see how they'll do it. So I can't judge it yet. I'm very excited though, just because Doom's one-liners are hilarious. So having having Robert Downey Jr. like say things like, like mortals survive, doom endures, like having him like hit those kind of one-liners would just be really cool. Then full circle, there's a moment in Secret Wars where God King Doom fights Thanos, and Thanos like steps to him and is like, "You're not a god, you're playing God. I am a god. When I had the Infinity Gauntlet, like I was a god." And Doom's like, "Yeah, but you don't have it right now." And then he's like, Thanos like steps up to him to fight him, and he calls Doom a fake god, and Doom reaches inside of his body and rips his skeleton out. How full circle would that be if a Tony Stark variant kills Thanos on Battleworld because of how much Thanos put him through mentally? What that snap did literally killed him. And then the mental anguish we saw Tony go through after the first Avengers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where he couldn't get Thanos out of his head, and it influenced every good and bad decision, even Ultron. It influenced every decision he made because he could not get Thanos out of his head, to the point where Thanos is the reason he died. Saving the world, but Thanos. So how crazy full circle would that be if now they face off and we get to see RDJ just yank his spine out? The problem is that only matters if his mask is off, and Doom's mask is not supposed to be off. So there's that, like, can you pay off the fact that he looks like Tony Stark without killing the essence of Doom? Doom would not continue fighting if his mask got knocked off. He'd pick it up and put it back on because he does not want people to see his face. As a matter of fact, I'm almost positive there's probably something in his armor where you can't knock his mask off. So I'm curious as to see how they do it. I mean, at one point in one of the comic book runs, we see that his face is not even as deformed as he says it is. It's one scar. One small scar. But for him, his face might as well be turned upside down because it's not perfection. How do you do that with making sure you pay off that he looks like Tony Stark? I don't know how. I honestly don't know how you stay true to Doom. If we got a 20-minute scene where he's fighting without his helmet or his mask, it's really weird to me. It's just really, really weird to me. It's akin to how in the Halo series, they had Master Chief fighting with his helmet off. You take the essence from the character when you do stuff like that. You know what I mean? It would be like if it was like, okay, the Human Torch only sets his legs on fire in this universe. We'd be like, what? Like, that's not, you know what I mean? Like, it would take from him, or, oh, well, Magneto no longer wears the helmet. He has an earpiece that allows Professor X not to get in his head. No, you can't. There's certain things that are the essence of the character, and Doom not wanting you to see his face is an essence of the character. How do you do that while paying off? You have to have that moment, right? Where the Avengers are fighting him and they can't kill him because you look like Tony. It would be great to have have Spider-Man almost give him the death blow and then realize, oh, I can't kill him. He looks like Mr. Stark. I know he's not, but I can't go through with this because he looks like Mr. Stark. You can only do that if his mask comes off. So that I'm on both sides of it, bro. Every time I talk about it to someone, I give pros and cons, and I agree with both sides. It's until we know what they do, it's gonna be hard to judge.
Yeah, I think now is you're getting directors that grew up liking the comic books. We talked about this with Chris Nolan and the Dark Knight trilogy. You're getting directors that grew up with these comic books and they like them. And I do think that they try the best they can to make sure they stay true to their character as much as they possibly can. We're not seeing like we did in movies of years past where Batman kills. I mean, I love the Tim Burton series, but that kind of like took away from the essence of Batman. Batman's one of the main reasons why his rogues gallery is so powerful is because they stay alive. It's like no matter what, he doesn't kill them.
You can't do Joker if Batman kills.
Exactly.
You literally can't.
So that's the thing. So Christopher Nolan, yeah, you can make some exceptions. Ra's al Ghul in the first film, he didn't kill him, but he didn't save him either. Ra's al Ghul could survive maybe. So he still tried keeping that integrity.
Nobody never died due to Batman.
Yeah,
he just doesn't kill you.
Yeah,
whether
exactly.
or not you die from those wounds a week later. But Bruce will not, behead you.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of the things that they did. And I think the Russo brothers, who are fans, of the comic books in general, and our magnificent directors. 21 Bridges, by the way, is a fantastic film. We haven't seen it yet with Chadwick Boseman. That movie was
I
phenomenal.
need to watch that.
It's great. Still on Netflix, by the way. It's fantastic, and those guys I think will do a good job. But I do agree with you. I don't think they want to cover Robert Downey Jr.'s face for too long because he's Robert Downey Jr. So we'll see how they handle that. But I'm excited to see. I was shocked. I never thought they'd go. Everybody's like, who's gonna play Doctor Doom? I never thought they. I'm sorry.
I thought Henry Cavill, and then
Okay, Henry Cavill. Okay,
but it's definitely not him.
No, I know.
But I thought Cavill. I was like, oh, he's got the stature, right? He looks like a Greek god. So you put armor on him in a cape. He looks like Doom, probably, right?
Yeah.
I thought he'd be a great Doom, and then let him play a villain because he got done playing, the superhero and Superman. So I just thought it'd be a cool contrast to have him play a villain. I had no idea it was going to be Robert Downey Jr. I didn't think.
No one did. No one did. I was shocked, and I feel bad for Henry, man, because he never got to really play Superman to the full potential he wanted to. So we'll see what happens when they do.
Have you seen Deadpool yet?
I have not. I have not. I hope to see it sometime this week or sometime next week. But I heard I heard it was a fun film. I'm dying to see it. I really am.
Fantastic.
I'm really glad you liked it because I really want to see it.
They did Wolverine really well. They made sure to do him very well. My
wife's birthday. I'm sorry. My birthday's tomorrow, and my wife told me,
happy early birthday.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. In 1 hour, I turned 44.
Let's go.
I turned 44 in 1 hour. Yeah. So she was telling me, she's like, if anything, if I could have had the day off, we could have played hooky and we could have gone to see Deadpool, but my son's still a little sick right now, so we can't do it anyway. I'm like, oh, it's true. That's true. Yeah, and it would have no one in the theaters. It would have been great.
We got tickets months ago. We got tickets. Yeah. I think if maybe the day they came out in our theater or the next day, I think Steph, we were sitting down watching something and she was like, should we get our tickets now? And I'm not a ahead of time kind of guy. And I was like, whatever. And she just got them on the spot. She was like, let's get good seats. Let's make sure we get our tickets. We didn't want to go the first night, so we went Saturday. And we went during the day so that hopefully it wasn't going to be as crazy. So we went during the day at 1 o'clock. And it was... We're going to go again this weekend to see it. I need to see it again because it's a movie that you're going to laugh through some talking. So you're going to miss some things. So I was trying so hard not to laugh because I just didn't want to miss anything in the movie. But I mean, it's Ryan Reynolds. So he did not disappoint. I will say that. Okay. He did not disappoint. And for anyone that's worried about the Wolverine thing with how great Logan ended, it's okay.
Okay, so did it justice.
Everything's okay.
Okay.
Everything's okay.
Good.
Then you have to remember it's Feige. Feige started with X-Men. He's not going to let them desecrate Wolverine like that. Okay. He won't let it happen. He that dude loves X-Men more than he loves anything. So he won't let it happen. And I know a lot of people were worried about that, about how they going to address this, because we'll talk after you watch it.
Okay, perfect. Yeah,
I had about an hour and a half in conversation at work today because every time these movies come out, they just circle me and ask me all their questions. So I just sat down and held court and answered every comic book question on the planet today.
Yeah, no, it's the same thing. I'm a big DC guy, and when the Batman came out, I had colleagues at work I really like this film and Joker as well,
all kind of stuff.
Yeah, so ask me a bunch of questions and so
on. He's supposed to be in here, but it's easy. To me now, I actually don't mind it, because the regular everyday person is in a comic book culture now, and I mean, you can attest to this, man. No one gave a about our comic books back in the day, man. They didn't care. They maybe watched Justice League the animated show, right? You could have gotten people that watch Batman the animated series, things like that, but I mean, no one cared about Deadpool 15 years ago. No. I know this because it was hard to find figure. You couldn't even find a figure of Deadpool back in the day because he wasn't popular, so stores didn't carry him. Even comic book stores didn't always carry his figures because he wasn't that popular. They didn't make a bunch of them because he wasn't mainstream like that. Now I can go to Walmart right now and buy a Deadpool figure.
Yep. And it's funny though, they have his clothes for kids. I'm like, he's not a kid character.
Oh my gosh. Well, when I used to cosplay Deadpool, it would be 6-year-old kids coming up to me and recognizing me. And I would look at their parents why does he know who I am? Like, I read Deadpool. He should not read Deadpool. If you think he's bad in the movies, people, he's way worse on paper.
Yeah.
He's terrible. Kids should not read that comic. So when like 6 and 7-year-old kids would be like Deadpool, I'd be like, oh my God, how do you know who this guy is? You should definitely not know me. So then kids would come up and say Spider-Man. I'm like, your parents are responsible. They're not letting you read Deadpool because it's a little too raunchy for kids. So
Yeah.
there are times when like people tell me about characters or that their kids watch characters, and I'm like, man, you should probably skim that comic book one time before you give it to them. I know people think that it's a comic book, it's for kids, but all of them are not for kids. And Deadpool's is definitely not for kids.
Most actually aren't. If you really, especially in the
They're not.
90s, they wrote them more. They wrote them more with a bit more story, as well. And like if you read comic books in the 90s, especially the DC Batman ones and the
I was about to
Punishers,
say,
those were rough, man. Like the Batman had one called The Cult that became a classic in the early 90s. That was a very scary one. Arkham Asylum, which is the artwork is just
Bro,
freaky. That
Batman
is
in modern comics gets R-word by Tanya Al Ghul date art to make a child.
yeah. Yes.
That ain't for kids.
No, it's not.
That is not for kids at all. I mean, think about Death in the Family. It's one of the most fucking. That's not a kid comic book.
No.
Joe, who peels another man's face and wears it as his Joker mask, like it's terrifying. It's actually terrifying.
And no, like I said, it's not for kids. No, and like even the death of Superman. Superman is a kid friendly superhero in the sense of his character, but when he fights Doomsday, he gets a spike under the rib, and you see that the spike penetrate under the rib. It was brutal. The comic book movies, the animated films that are PG-13 cleaned that fight up. They cleaned that fight. They cleaned that fight up. They cleaned it up. I mean, it is crazy. Under the Red Hood is another one that's really bad. As well. It's a rough one to watch as well. So
kids shouldn't read anything Red Hood. Red Hood and the Outlaws, none of that. Jason Todd cusses like a sailor.
Yeah.
And Speedy is a drug addict. So
yeah.
it's really hard to tell people like comics are not for kids.
No, they're really not.
It's like when I try to explain anime to people, and they're like, that's for kids. And I'm like, well, some of it, yes. And then some of it will make you sleep with the lights on because it's like you said, the creators now grew up reading it.
Mm-hmm.
The guys like Todd McFarlane and them in the 90s, they grew up comic book fans. So they wanted to put their spin on it, and then they were edgy in that era, so they wrote some edgy stuff. Mm-hmm. Like if anyone thinks comics are for children, give them Watchmen and then put them in a corner. And when they come back like this, just be like, "I told you, it's crazy out here." Or give them The Mask. The original Mask comic is crazy. It's not as fun and funny as the movie. He's a serial killer. It's not.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Fun. Yeah, neither did I until Free Comic Book Day a couple years ago, and they had one of them, and I was like, "This is a comic." And the guy at the comic book store just started telling us all about The Mask and how it is in the comics, and we were like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, that's why when the movie came out in the 90s, I was like, why are they making a movie about this? This isn't like for kids." But they, goofied it up and made it for kids, but. Yeah, it's fun getting to experience comic book culture with regular people. I say regular people because to me they're not nerds, so they're regular people. I call them muggles because they don't have magic. But it's fun. To me, it's fun. It's fun when someone comes up to you and they're like, "Hey, you like that comic book stuff, right? What's going on with Fantastic Four? When I was a kid, it was like this. Hey, what's going on?" And they're genuinely like into it again. They're like, they want to know. My dad grew up a Thor fan. It was pulling teeth trying to get him to watch the MCU at first. He didn't want to watch it. He was just thinking they're gonna. First of all, he thought they were gonna ruin it. They're gonna ruin Thor. They're gonna ruin Iron Man. It was pulling teeth to get him to watch it, and then he finally watched it, and he was like, "That's for him." I mean, imagine my dad grew up and had like the very first Iron Man comic. Now he gets to see Iron Man on screen.
Yeah,
almost moved that man to tears. So for the writers, it's the same way. Like the Russos been begging to do Secret Wars since the MCU started. They're like, if y'all do Secret Wars, we want it. They've been saying that shit for like years. So because they grew up fans, that was probably their favorite comic book run. And like you said, it may not be perfect to the comic, but you know they're gonna do it justice because their heart's in it. Christopher Nolan loves Bro, they asked Christopher Nolan not too long ago, would he do Batman again? And he was like, I'd love to play in that sandbox because he loves it.
Yeah. Especially Jonathan, his brother. His brother's a major fan as well. You know, Jonathan's the one that said that we need to redo Bane because they did it so poorly in the 90s. They wanted to give Bane a little bit more justice as far as the character goes. And they did. You know, some people didn't like the way it ended because it made him look like a puppet for Talia. But he was intimidating, you know. He was intimidating throughout the whole movie.
The only thing I didn't like is that there wasn't a final scene with Bane and Batman. Like Batman got worked in that movie. He never got his fight back.
Yeah.
He never got to be the one to really put down Bane. But I like it when somebody like Nolan says like, okay, we're gonna keep Bane what he is, but we're gonna tweak it a little bit, like just a hair, not anything crazy. We'll keep the essence of Bane, but we're gonna make him a ninja. Like we're also gonna make him a little different. I like stuff like that. And full circle to what you said, this is literally what the Russos are doing with Doom. They're just like, look, we love Robert Downey Jr. and we love the MCU and we love Secret Wars. I don't think they're gonna give us anything that's gonna make us go like, why did they do that? Like I don't think they're doing that. It's just. And we also have to understand that the MCU is not the comics. I have to remind myself of that constantly. That I'm like, okay, it's not the comics. It's not the comics. It's not the comics. It's different. I mean, they're at the point where, and what if they debuted a new character? I know people don't want to hear this. We're going to keep getting new, just MCU characters in the future. Why would you not make new IP? And for people that don't want that, I know I'm talking too long and it's getting late, but I have to say this because people, when I tell them like, well, they're going to make original characters, like, oh, we don't want that. All right, well then, should we delete Harley Quinn from canon?
Yeah, I was gonna tell you the same thing. She was an animated series, and she's a one-off, by the way. She's supposed to be a one-off, and
they were like,
she got popular.
Bring her back. You know what I mean? Like
she's supposed to be a one-off.
Sometimes when the creators love the content that much, I'm okay with giving them license because you love Batman that much. You understand Joker. You understand that dynamic that. You were able to fit in a character that you thought of, but that feels like she was in this world this entire time. Like, I truly believe that the only reason we didn't know Harleen Quinzel is because she hadn't lost her mind yet. You know what I mean? Like, I know in real canon they didn't make her yet, but you can seriously believe that, oh yeah, she was in Gotham this whole time, but she was a nurse. So that's why she didn't lose her mind yet. She fits really well. So I do believe they'll figure out a way to make Robert Downey Jr. fit. Like the Avengers as a movie belongs to the Russos. I'm sorry, but it's theirs. I don't think they'll mess up their legacy.
No, I don't think so either.
I don't think so at all. I just think that they also probably were never getting Robert Downey Jr. back as Iron Man. He costs too much. He's just too much money to be Iron Man going forward. So I think I wonder if they wanted to work with him or if they wanted him as Doom. Apparently, he was cast as Doom at least a couple weeks ago. He was cast at least a few weeks ago, which is interesting that they were able to keep that under wraps. That's crazy that it didn't leak. That's insane. Even with him being at Comic-Con, that it didn't leak is really insane. I'm curious, and I think we'll hear more at D23 when they do the Disney upfront thing they do every year. I'm pretty sure we'll hear a little bit more about the Robert Downey Jr. casting, and hopefully we hear some more about things like Blade and stuff like that, which sounds like they're just not going to do it because they said those are only 3 movies they're focusing on next year, and Blade wasn't one of them. So poor Blade, man. Poor Blade.
Yeah, no, of course. Even though I like the casting of
me too.
How do you pronounce his first name? Marshana, I think that's how you pronounce it. Mahershala, there we go. Ali, I like the casting, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with Blade.
Make him Black Panther. If they don't do Blade, I'd love him to be Black Panther. Make him T'Challa. He's a fantastic actor. So
yeah, he is.
If he can't be Blade, I think I'd be really cool with him coming back as Black Panther. But I mean, Blade would be cool. I just think Blade would be dope. We don't have that side of the MCU yet. We don't have that dark magical vampire underworld side yet. I think it would just be cool because you could do that without having people go, well, where's Iron Man? Well, he ain't in the underworld with vampires. You know what I mean? It's hard to do a movie now. It's hard to do anything now. You can't do anything with stakes. If you have stakes to it, you go, okay, well, so they're in Philadelphia, right? And the world's about to end. New York's not that far. Why is Spider-Man not tapping in? Why you have to start asking those questions. But if you say, well, this is the criminal underworld with vampires and lycans and werewolves, then you can do whatever you want down there. So I kind of hope they do Blade. But as all of us know, we don't really know because they didn't announce it.
Yeah, I think eventually they'll do it because they mentioned it, they talked about it, so they'll eventually get it done. But I think they've preoccupied themselves a little bit too much. And like I said, man, like I told you in previous conversations, when you decide to include your TV shows, your cartoons, and your movies and try to link them all together, it's hard because you convolute everything, and the same thing now that DC wants to do, James Gunn wants to have the guys that voice the cartoons to be the actors of the movies, and that's not easy. I liked it when they're kind of separate. So I could stay with the movies and I'd be like, I gotta watch the show, So
the only reason it's good is it's good for the regular fan. It's good for the regular fan to show up. Because if you think about it, if you show a regular MCU fan What If, some of the characters are not voiced by their actual actors. So they'll go, oh, wait, he doesn't sound like Chris Evans. You have to go, oh, well, it's canon. But in this one, it's not voiced by Chris Evans. And you go, well, why? It's just not. But in DC, he wants to have some sort of, I guess, fluidness with his actors.
Yeah, he does.
I don't dislike it. With him too, I'm giving him grace. I want to wait to see what his slate really is going to look like. He's taking his time, and that makes me happy. The fact that he's taking his time and he's really going to build the universe, I think is thank God, because you can't go too fast. You just can't. Everything's on Superman, bro. That movie has to land. Very much like the first Iron Man had to land for the MCU. DC's not going to get a bunch of do-overs from the fans, and they've gotten too many already. That if his first Superman movie bombs, I don't mean money-wise. I mean, if it's not a good movie, it's going to be hard uphill from there, bro. I mean, I'm showing up. You're showing up, but we love this. Your friends, your cousins, they're not showing up. They're going to wait till it hits max and watch it. I think this one's really important. So I'm hoping he knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, no, me too. I have confidence in him. Again, he's a fan as well. There was a lot of hate for the Superman suit. I didn't have a problem with it. I think it's a combination of the 1930s with a little bit of a modern touch. And he voted. The fans wanted the old underwear back on, the red underwear. So
he said he didn't think they were going to vote for it. He thought they were going to say no.
Yeah, and they did. So I mean, he's listening to people, but I just, like I said, it's just a lot. And I know you're older with a kid. It's like you can't do all that. Like when I was in my 20s, like, yeah, I'm there. Life throws a wrench every so often. So that's kind of like where I'm at, But I'm excited. I'm excited for the MCU. I'm excited what James Gunn's going to do with the future of DC as well. I'm excited who he's going to cast as Batman in that universe. The fans want Jensen Ackles. I'm a Jensen Ackles guy as well. I think he'd be great as well. He's already voicing the animated version of Batman, and he does a phenomenal job with the voice acting. No one will ever be Kevin Conroy, but he does a fantastic voice. He does a really good job with the voice as well. So I'm really excited to see what he does. And again, I hope he casts him as Batman. Corey, well, thank you. Well, yeah, so do I, again, you've been out of the loop for a while. So when will you be restarting the watch-alongs, your shows, etc.? Let us know.
So recordings have already started doing those already. I actually did one tonight with Jaden Wilkinson. Fantastic conversation. Great young man. Mario and Mirabal, when they get offensive linemen, they just get like some of the brightest young men you could ever want to have on your football team. Recorded one with Chris Ewalt last week. I don't know when that one's going to drop. Jaden's going to drop Friday. So I'm starting doing those again. During the season, we'll be I'm going to bring back our halftime show. So we're going to kick it on halftimes. Anyone in the chat, y'all know, like I had so much fun with those. I basically have Will on almost every week. It's a lot of fun. We just either complain or celebrate for 15 minutes.
Yes.
It's all we do. It's not a bunch of in-depth. It's literally we either complain about what we saw or we celebrate what we saw, and it's a halftime, so it's great.
Yeah.
You don't have to commit too much time to it. We talk for about 10 to 15 minutes. We get you hyped up, and then we send you back into the game, kicking and screaming. And it's always fun because we all approach the first half different. So, it'll be three of us, and everyone's got a different view on half. Like the first person's like, hey, it's going kind of good in mine. And the second person's like, oh my God, will we run the football? And the third person's like, this defense is going to kill us if we don't. So it's cool to get that different perspective. I want to start getting back into doing some streams when we get commits, but I'm so behind on them. So maybe I'll ask Twitter what they want me to do about that. I tend to just ask people like, hey, what do y'all want me to do? Because I always feel like my channel is theirs anyway. If they don't watch, I don't have it. So I'll probably ask them what to do. And then always, obviously, UHeard podcast. I'm never on Wednesdays because for anyone that wonders, because I get asked this a lot. I'm not on Wednesdays because I live in Texas. So you guys are like an hour ahead of me. When they do UHeard, I'm literally still at work locking up the building. That's why I'm always in the chat, because I have to lock up our building before I leave. So when they do UHeard, it's 5 for me. So I'm not off yet. I'm driving home while they do UHeard. So I never make Wednesdays, but always show up Wednesdays. Wednesdays are always fun. I'm always in the chat with everyone. And then Sunday nights are UHeard shows too. We go live for those. Those are a lot of fun. Anyone that knows that show knows that there's probably snacks in this room right now prepared for Sunday show. I always keep things that are going to make Joe lose his mind. I know people think at this point that these are the kind of things I eat on a regular basis, and that's fine. But they're not. At this point, I just want to make Joe lose his mind every week. So there's that. And I always say, anytime anyone asks me what I do, I always take a second to everyone else, man. This space is just so populated with so many great content creators. I mean, if you're watching this now and this is your first time watching Will, first off, where have you been? Second off, this is a channel that does the Miami Hurricanes, the Miami. It literally is Miami. It's 305 Sports, not just the Hurricanes, the Miami Dolphins. I mean, during hockey season, bro was live with a short after every game. Like, if you are a fan of sports, especially in the 305, and this is your first time on this channel, you just struck gold, because you don't have to go anywhere else now. Whereas if you like my channel, you got to go somewhere else for your pro stuff. Like, you're not getting everything from me. You're only getting high school football from me. You come to this channel and you get everything. So for those of y'all that are new here, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, that it's a platform that has everything you need. And you're probably thinking, yeah, but I like the soccer team. I got news for you. He covers that too. And then with the NFL season right around the corner, I know your Miami Dolphins coverage is about to ramp up.
Yep.
So if you're in this chat right now, if you're listening to Rewatch Squad and you didn't know Will does all this, make sure you subscribe, because it's a one-stop shop. Like, I don't think people understand how hard it is to do that for content, Will, by the way. That's not easy to do. Like, I get overwhelmed and I just do recruiting. So, like, crazy kudos that you cover all those other sports, because I don't think people realize, bro, that's not exactly easy to do in the content creation space. It's easy to be a fan of everything.
Yeah.
It's not easy to have to keep up with it and stream and make sure you're up to date with all the news, and it's not easy, man.
It's hard. I had a listener, and thank you for your kind words. I really appreciate it. So I love having you on, because you're a good friend and you're a great friend of the show, and you're great, with Kane's content. But I had a listener tell me last year, he's like, I'm unsubscribing because you didn't mention the Marlins. I was like, sorry.
What?
I'm so
What else can he do?
I'm
are y'all
sorry.
serious?
Yeah,
he literally has a short after every result from a game.
Yeah,
So,
I try my best. Yeah.
literally, win, lose, or draw, if you open up your YouTube, you probably know what happened in the game. Whether that's, no matter what team that is, y'all do. He has a full-time job. I'm defending you now, but just subscribe. That one guy, come back. Like, come back, dude. Like, who cover them? First of all, why do y'all want to cover the Marlins? What the Marlins don't. Y'all should not talk about the Marlins and not give them any of your money for a very long time.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he can sell the team to someone who actually cares.
Yeah,
because they build up a great farm system and a great team, and they trade them.
Yeah,
by the way, I'm a Yankees fan, so I'm not upset because we tend to benefit when y'all do this, Josh Beckett. We tend to benefit when y'all do stuff like this. But also, just as a sports fan, it's brutal to see. It's painful to see. So maybe Will shouldn't cover the Marlins. Maybe y'all should stop paying attention.
Yeah,
and sell it to someone who cares.
I told Hoodie Girl that story last year when they actually made the playoffs, and Hoodie Girl goes, "I'll remind you to mention the Marlins at the end of the show that they're in the playoffs." It's just tough to cover them because I'm gonna be honest with you, the fan base doesn't care, and the fan base doesn't care about the Marlins because the Marlins have lost trust with their fan base, and I mean they built the stadium, they still sold off the players. They just trade. I mean, I'm a Yankee fan as well, but they just traded Chaz Chisholm over to the Yankees. Yankees got better, so it's. I'm sorry to tell you, it's like the I promised. I promised. After when the Panthers Stanley Cup run, I like hockey, but basketball and hockey overlap season wise, so I tend to cover the Heat more. But I promised, and I'm sticking to it, even if it's just a short. I will be doing more Panthers content as the season goes along this upcoming season. So you will be getting Heat, and you're getting a little bit more Panthers. My interview with Zach Krantz a couple of weeks ago. If you guys should check that out. We did some Panthers talk, during about the Panthers. They little Dolphins too, because I love the Dolphins, but little Panthers talk as well. So I try my best, man. It is hard. It is very difficult to stick to everything. But I do a lot of Canes because that's what you guys want, and it's supply and demand. So you guys like the Canes content. I give you guys what you want. So that's what I'm about. Not about me, I'm about you guys. Like you said, I don't have a show. I don't have a channel. If it isn't for you guys watching, out there in the YouTube verse.
You hear that? If you're in the comments and you like, I want more something coverage, like those videos.
Yeah.
That's how he makes more of them. When he posts about the Panthers, you have to like it. And then that tells him, oh, they want to see this. So the first time he talks about the Marlins, y'all got to run the numbers up. Y'all got numbers got to be through the roof. It's got to be the biggest video he's ever done, or else, that's how you tell a content creator what you want. By the way, spoiler alert: if y'all are out there, y'all are like, why don't you make a video about this? Because the first time we did, you didn't care. If you guys like and request stuff too. Will's like literally the nicest dude that makes content. Go in his comments and say, "Can you cover this?" I guarantee you he'll read the comment and at least look into it.
Yeah. No, I definitely will. I try to when people in the comments, when people comment, I comment right back. I try to make sure that I get to everybody as well, good or bad. As long as you're respectful, I'll listen. I'll talk back to you. I'll dialogue with you as well. So that's what I'm about, man. Again, this show doesn't exist if it's not for you guys out there. And the reason why I do so much Canes, because you guys, letting me know through views and through comments and so on that you like the Canes coverage. So that's where I do a lot of Canes coverage. But if you guys want to see more Dolphins, I'll do more Dolphins. I'll do whatever you guys want me to do, okay, as well. So yeah, but CB, thank you so much for your kind words, man. I greatly appreciate you. I love you in the UHeard podcast. The UHeard podcast has been a great friend of the show as well. So God bless you. You guys need to subscribe to CB, to Chalupa Batman on his channel. Subscribe to the UHeard podcast as well. Follow Benny and Joe and CB and Polk as well.
Big Polk. And I don't have Polk muscles, but Polk has big muscles.
And Polk as well. Yeah, Polk's a big dude. I met him in person. So follow all of us. We're all good people, man. So whatever you guys want to hear, talk about, we'll dialogue with you as well. Just letting you guys know, I'm not done yet. I am not done yet. Wednesday, mid-afternoon, between 12 and 1, Alex Dono of Locked On Canes will be on the show. Yes, he will be on the show. We'll be discussing Bryce Fitzgerald a bit more in depth, okay, with Alex Dono to see what he's heard about him and so on, and what he's seen or what he's heard from people like Brian Smith, what they've seen in the kid. So we're going to get a bit more in depth as well. And Thursday, I'm live again at 8 p.m. with Rasta of the Miami Flow Network, the Sebastian Lane Show. I ain't stopping. And I may do a possible Kane or a flip watch this upcoming weekend. So I'll be super busy with Canes content. Why? Because it's Canes Fest week, guys. If you are in town, you're staying here, whatever the case would be, hit the Rock at 2 p.m. or 2:30. So gates open and come meet the players as well, and all the festivities have for kids as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome, man.
It is.
Ooh, nice.
So CB, thank you once again for joining us. Again, subscribe to CB, to the Batman, subscribe to UHeard. If you like this show, if you like this episode, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to 305 Sports Now. We'll say, guys, have a safe evening. Thank you for staying up with me. God bless. See you soon. Go Canes. All about the you. Bye-bye, guys.